Part 2. The Nightmare. After that night, the nightmares only got worse. I no longer just saw the events unfold. I felt them, relived them, every excruciating second. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that chair, bound and helpless, waiting for the inevitable. But then, the dreams started to change. The familiar darkness would envelop me, and I'd feel the ropes digging into my wrists, the cold sweat on my skin. But instead of being trapped in the chair, I began to roam. It was as if my spirit had been released from my body, but I was still tied to that place, that moment. I would wander through the darkness, feeling the cold air on my skin, hearing distant, echoing footsteps. I wasn't alone. I could sense others, shadows moving just beyond my sight. They whispered to me, their voices like the rustling of dead leaves. They called out my name, begging me for help, but I could never reach them. And then I would see him, the man who took my life. He was always there, lurking in the shadows, his cold eyes watching me. Sometimes he would speak, repeating the same words over and over. "You can't escape. This is where you belong now." I would try to run, but no matter where I went, I'd always end up back in that chair, tied down and helpless. The knife would be there too, glinting in the darkness, a reminder of how it all ended. I'd feel the terror rising in me again, the panic that I couldn't control. And just as the knife would come down, I'd wake up, soaked in sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. It wasn't just in my dreams, though. The terror followed me into the waking world. Every shadow seemed to hide his figure. Every sound echoed with his voice. I stopped sleeping, too afraid of what I'd see when I closed my eyes. But the exhaustion only made things worse. The line between dream and reality began to blur, and I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. People around me started to notice. I tried to explain it, but how could I make them understand? They hadn't seen what I'd seen, felt what I'd felt. They hadn't been trapped in that chair, helpless as life slipped away. Eventually, I stopped trying to explain. It was easier to let them think I was just losing my mind. And maybe I was. Because now, even when I'm awake, I hear him. He's always there, whispering in my ear, reminding me that I'm not really free, that I'll never be free. So I write this now, hoping that putting these words on paper will exorcise the demon that haunts me. Maybe if I tell the story, the nightmares will finally stop, or maybe they'll just consume me completely. But either way, I have to try, because if I don't, I'm afraid that one day I won't wake up at all.